We were wrong about the Bloodline in WWE, as there may have been some seeds planted to indicate that what the general consensus is for the new tribal chief might not be the case going forward. We have to explore some little hints that Solo Sikoa might not have been appointed the tribal chief, plus some other theories about Roman Reigns and potentially even Tama Tonga returning as the tribal chiefs. We got a lot of stuff to talk about coming up on this episode of Wrestle Digest, but before we get into the video, guys, 97% of you guys watching the videos. A lot of these guys have come from the last few days. We've had a few videos blow up, but a lot of you guys aren't subscribed. So if you want to be part of this community for daily wrestling content, hit that subscribe button. This is the spot to be. KC, we're going to open the video with a bit of a recap of what happened on Friday Night SmackDown, but maybe some hints that were laid that Solo Sikoa, well, he might just be acting alone. Of course, we all saw Solo Sikoa come out and say, you know, these matches, these losses, defeats have consequences, scaring the crap out of Paul Heyman, with Tama Tonga entering the WWE newly signed, attacking Jimmy Uso. Of course, ending with Solo and Tama standing very strong, looking like the new dominant figures. Casey, there have been a lot of rumors out there of people saying The Rock has appointed Solo Sikoa the tribal chief because of what we saw backstage. Of course, Solo pointing to himself after not Jacob Fatu, we'll get into him later. Tama Tonga said, I got orders from the tribal chief. I don't think The Rock appointed Solo Sikoa the tribal chief. I'm just saying that straight up front. I think that's not a consensus, but an opinion I've seen everywhere. I think this is Solo acting alone. We saw Roman appoint him, tribal prince or whatever, many months ago. Solo was clearly frustrated at WrestleMania. He never really smiled at Roman. I think this is Solo just taking revenge for always being put below Roman and just going rogue. And I think we'll see some consequences coming up in the coming weeks, whether it's from Roman or Heyman or maybe even The Rock.
Yeah, this was very shocking last night. I did not expect the bloodline to kind of crumble a little bit last night on SmackDown. It was definitely very shocking for me. And I mean, the whole promo was, Paul Heyman saying to Solo, there's consequences for losing, stuff like this. So he's seen that Jimmy lost. So he took it into his own hands to kind of dish out the consequences because Roman Reigns wasn't there. He's the so-called tribal prince. So I feel like he, took it into his own hands to try to lay the beat down into Jimmy to knock some sense into him for losing to Jay at WrestleMania and making the bloodline look bad. I mean, like you said, there's lots of crazy theories going around right here. Me personally, I don't think that Solo is the tribal prince. How could you go 0-22 and become the tribal chief? Like that just doesn't make sense to any WWE fan watching. But
That's fair.
it is definitely some different theories, like you talked about The Rock, like you talked about Roman. Personally, I don't think The Rock is involved in this. I think when he comes back, it will definitely be to face Cody Rhodes.
Yeah, I can definitely see that too. Now, I gotta feel that The Rock is at least going to be tangentially involved at some point, especially with this build up to WrestleMania. I mean, this was such a big bloodline thing. The Rock bringing out the bloodline family tree at the press conference. But for now, I think you might be right, at least for now, especially because Solo Sikoa, it sounds like he listened to what Paul Heyman said, and he's like, you know what? No, this is my time. So he takes it out on Jimmy, and maybe in his head, that same thing. Defeat has consequences. He thought, well, Roman lost. Well, guess what? I'm going to take over for him. I'm going to do it on my own. And he maybe convinced Tama Tonga before the Friday Night SmackDown show to say, hey, no, you know what? We are going to go at this alone. Stand with me. I will be the next tribal chief. I think Solo believes it in his head, but I don't necessarily think that long-term this is going to last. I actually believe, this might be a hot take, because it's not something I've seen ever. I believe that Solo is going to see some consequences, maybe even from The Rock, or maybe, well, from Roman almost for sure, but I think maybe even The Rock will come down on him. I think this is actually going to end up backfiring big time for Solo, which is why I think that, like you said, he is not the plan long-term for the next tribal chief.
Yeah, I definitely agree with what you're saying. I think, like you said, there's going to be some consequences coming Solo's way, which may end to him, maybe being exiled from the bloodline,
Ooh.
and maybe him and Tama Tonga might team up and, kind of part ways with the bloodline here. So then Roman Reigns, maybe, he gets Jimmy back. I think Jimmy's going to be on his side in this since he wasn't there last night. I think it's going to be Jimmy and Roman, and maybe we could potentially see a face turn from the bloodline and pick up Jay. Maybe Jimmy apologizes for everything he's done, and the Usos get back together to take on Tama Tonga and Solo Sikoa.
We get Bloodline 2 Electric Boogaloo with Solo Sikoa starting his own branch. That wouldn't be crazy with Jacob Fatu coming in, but I think you made a nice point that'll segue well into our next thing here. And there were some clues that Roman might still be the tribal chief. Now, I don't know if I want to say clues, because realistically, it seems like Paul Heyman still for sure considers Roman the tribal chief. We saw him say, this is not what the tribal chief would want when Solo and Tama Tonga were going after Jimmy Uso in the ring. So clearly Paul Heyman, at the very least, of course, he wanted to call Roman Reigns, said this is not what the tribal chief would want. Roman is still tribal chief in some capacity. Now, I'm not up to date on my Samoan lore. I don't know how that title could maybe be transferred from one person to another. Clearly, Solo believes that he is now the tribal chief after Roman's big defeat, even though Solo has lost many, many times. So, when we talk about Roman potentially being the tribal chief, I think that could work very well. And similar to what we said in the last section with Solo and then being exiled, I think Roman coming back, still brandishing that tribal chief moniker, potentially even remaining heel. I don't think that's necessarily a bad idea. I think some people have already agreed to the fact Roman will be back a face. I don't necessarily think that's true. I think him being heel versus maybe Rock, and Rock at least kind of managing the Solo side of it, could be a nice heel versus heel thing. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that, Casey? Is Roman still being the de facto tribal chief when he returns, maybe feuding with Solo for that title?
I mean, there's only one tribal chief,
That's
Josh,
right.
and that's Roman Reigns. And you got to acknowledge him because that's just the way it is. And I think, like you said, what this is going to lead to is something happening to Solo here. And I think Roman is still the tribal chief. And the way, if Solo wants to be the tribal chief, the only way to do it is to beat Roman Reigns one-on-one. So maybe that is something we see over these next couple of premium live events. Maybe we see a Solo versus Roman one-on-one for, the tribal chief title. And I think Roman is just going to clean the floor with Solo, just to put that one out in the ether. But I think that, like you said, there's only one tribal chief. I don't think The Rock is the tribal chief. I don't think there can be two tribal chiefs at one time. So right now, I think we'll see maybe a Solo versus Roman. And then, like you said, it might keep going into The Rock versus Roman for the tribal chief title.
Yeah, and Rock, of course, is still High Chief. So, again, not sure how these titles can be transferred, if it's easy to transfer. Rock was bestowed that title, of course, very prestigious title. And same thing with Roman. So, very interesting to follow that. I think it could be very interesting to see Roman come back and just say, no, I am still the tribal chief. Maybe he stays heel and he goes into denial. There's a lot of possibilities there, but we're not going to dwell on that too long. Let us know what you think about these first two theories. But this last one I think is very interesting, Casey. And I've seen this scattered comment, the scattered person, maybe trying to get ahead of the WWE, saying, hey, no, what if? And what if we got the shocking turn that it is Tama Tonga or maybe Jacob Fatu when eventually he will make his debut in WWE? What if it is Tama Tonga? I got orders from the tribal chief. I know Solo pointed to himself right after Tama Tonga said this, but maybe he was just using his thumb. Maybe they wanted it to look like a point, and it was just a threat with his thumb. They can go both ways with this, which is awesome. But the idea that Tama Tonga, who is also, about Roman Reigns' age, he's like 41 too, right? He is a fairly senior member of this family. Jacob Fatu, again, not so sure yet what they're going to do with him, but you never know, right? The WWE has become extremely unpredictable. While I don't think this is a likely outcome, I think this is one that could shock some fans, and you never know. Again, what if Rock gets meddling? And he, after Solo's defiance and just going against Roman, maybe Rock decides, this is just a storyline I'm crafting here, just theory. What if he decides, no, one of these outsiders, one of these guys who has not betrayed us in one way or another gets that title? What are your thoughts on that? I think it's a bit outlandish, but not impossible.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. Like you said, the WWE does a great thing of being an unpredictable company. You don't know what's coming next within these storylines. So, like you said, this could be it because Tama Tonga is, one of those higher, I guess, senior members of the family. So maybe he is the tribal chief. Maybe that was bestowed upon him. Maybe, like you said, him taking orders was orders from himself or
Mhm.
something like this. And then that may lead to a Roman and Tama Tonga match. That could be something as well. Or one thing that we didn't mention, I think we were going to mention later, but I'm going to mention it
Let's
now,
do it.
is Rikishi. I think Rikishi could
Oh,
easily come in as the tribal chief in this situation. He has too many
oh,
kids within this beef within this, bloodline to not be a part of it as a former WWE superstar.
I mean, I love that. Rikishi has been actively taking to Twitter. I mean, writing his own ending potentially, Rikishi Fatu. And of course, he commented on everything just changed for the Bloodline from the WWE when they tweeted the attack, the brutal attack, the spikes from Solo to Jimmy. Rikishi says, hey, believe that. Everything just changed with the finger up to the sky. He is leaving hints. We've been asking for a Rikishi return for forever, KC. And of course, the father of Jimmy and Jay, like, this could be something big if Rikishi comes in and says, I am the senior guy here. No, and I'm not doing it for The Rock this time. He goes against Rock, right? I think that it could be a very good angle, not only from a Samoan lore perspective, from a Bloodline lore perspective, but also from fan service. He's a guy everyone's been asking for. And I think it would be one of the more unpredictable outcomes, but something that could lead to just a brilliant, brilliant story.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I think it's been too long since we've seen Rikishi in the ring, and I think he's got one more left in the tank. And I think, Rikishi versus Roman or a Rikishi versus Rock angle could be really great. I think the story would be awesome. Like you said, he has so many kids involved within the bloodline and family members, close family members. So I think it would be a shame if he is not involved in this at some point, especially with it kind of up in the air right now after last night. I think this is something that we could easily see come in.
Yeah, there's a lot of possibilities. Like we said, it could go any which way, but we'd love to hear from you guys down below. What do you think is the most likely outcome for the next tribal chief going forward? Do you think there'll be two? Do you think it's going to be Solo trying to do it on his own with Roman maybe coming back? Is it The Rock? Is it Rikishi not doing it for The Rock? There's a lot of stuff, but we'd love to hear your opinions in the comments. But that'll do it for this episode of Wrestle Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, guys. We're growing like crazy. We'd really love to hit 1,000 subscribers very, very soon. So if you enjoy the content here, hit the button. It'd really help us out. I'm Josh Gosse, my co-host, KC. We'll catch you in the next one.